Well, in terms of image, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Olympics. So the OPC, as many of you know, but maybe not everyone on the call knows, along with 28 other media and press freedom groups, we have sent a letter, we spearheaded this letter to the International Olympic Committee, urging it to include press freedom issues in its talks with the government in Beijing leading up to the Winter Olympics to be held next February. And we may have some news on that later this week, stay tuned. But how important is this an issue to press freedom? Would a commitment by the IOC to press freedom during the Olympics change things for journalists there? Does this matter? I guess I'll start with Chris. I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking back to the 2008 Beijing Summer Olympics, and at that point, the Chinese government was much more eager to establish a better relationship with the rest of the world, a better image, and to that extent, a better relationship with journalists stationed in China. And there was lifting of restrictions on travel for foreign journalists at that point. But it didn't take very long for informal restrictions to fall into place. And for the decade or more since then, I think it's become, in many ways, not 100%, but in many ways much more difficult. And so when we think about the next Winter Olympics in China and what to expect from them, I think, as I said to you, Jodi, beforehand, I maybe wouldn't call myself a pessimist, but maybe a realist. I think just given where China is at the moment, given where the world is at the moment, given the power of officials in China to read rules or circumvent rules or to apply rules in ways that meet their very particular ends, I think we have to have modest expectations about what a call from the IOC would do for international press freedom in China, especially in the longer term. So by that, I mean it may well be that for a few months over the Winter Olympics, there's a certain easing of conditions for journalists who are there. But longer term, I think these sort of larger pressures within the system, including the ones that Yvonne and Gerry were just talking about, would overwhelm those efforts. Now, that doesn't mean I think change is impossible, but I think change, when it comes, as with so many things in China, will come from sort of domestic dynamics rather than from pressure from the outside world.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Yvonne, you have thoughts on this and the Olympics? Yeah. And I'm sure, before you left, you were thinking, well, this would probably be part of what you would cover. And what are your thoughts on that? Whether this pressure or potential pressure would ease the situation at all there?
Well, look, I think it's worth a try. I think I would be equally, not massively optimistic about it making a real change. I think if there is going to be any change, then it's going to be ahead of the Winter Olympics. And there could be, some overtures made to the press corps. And it's definitely worth trying to apply a bit of pressure outside. I think, it'd be wrong to kind of give the impression that China reporting is somehow over. It's really far from over. There are so many people still inside the country doing incredible reporting, despite the pressures that they're under and these growing pressures. So I think anything that can help to draw attention to that and to make their lives a little bit easier is definitely worth trying.
Yeah, that's great. That's one of our poll quotes. It's far from over. And I think that's really true for us to all keep in mind that people are trying to do really good work under really, difficult pressures there. Gerry, is this an effort that could make a difference?
I think I would, agree with both Chris and Yvonne. It's one of these things that, given the political climate domestically in China today, it's hard to see how sort of these efforts might necessarily kind of yield direct results. But at the same time, it's as good an opportunity as ever, right? When sort of all eyes are in China. And this is a moment when, you will have presumably hundreds of journalists coming into China to cover a sporting event that China does, in fact, want coverage for. And, this, like Chris said, China did want foreign media coverage of the 2008 Olympics. It continues to want foreign media coverage of its domestic political events. It invites large international cable TV networks to come cover its military parades and its party congresses, and so why should we have hundreds of reporters there to cover the Olympics, but not the ones who are actually assigned to cover the country day in and day out? So I think that it's as good a chance as any to I think make the point, but would it have any immediate results? That's hard to say.
Good, thank you. We have some other good questions, and please keep sending them. This is from James McGregor, who says, Wes, saying that we're seeing more and more stories about China from outside China by journalists without China experience or expertise. And we've talked a little bit about this, but he says, our editors keyed into this and working to handle this problem with people who may not have as much expertise as others. I'm not sure. I guess another way to amplify that question is to say, what do news organizations do? And perhaps you all might reflect a little. And Yvonne, I guess I'll give this to you because you're still trying to cover China from that region, not being on the mainland, obviously. What can you try to do? What can organizations try to do to make up for some of this?
I think that the American organizations have been more successful in pivoting to a new model, having some of their journalists outside the country and others still inside. And I think for the bigger organizations, that's a very good way around it. And as the question mentioned, the people who continue to report outside of China and produce brilliant work on China are often the ones who've spent a long time there, who have this kind of deep China expertise. And I think that they can continue to do that outside the country. I think the danger comes when people who have never set foot in the country are trying to cover it. And I think that for a lot of organizations, and I think maybe this applies more to Europe than it does to the US, they've been caught on the hop a bit when it comes to the rise of China. It's almost like China kind of, as a rising superpower, snuck up on a lot of newsrooms and they weren't prepared for it. And I don't think that there's been enough investment in developing China expertise, in improving diversity, encouraging people with language skills to cover China, or willingness to fund posts in the country, send people out there. And I think that is an issue. So you have a lot of newspapers who, I would say, especially in Europe, who have been trying to cover the situation throughout the coronavirus from a distance. And I think you can tell when people don't have that level of expertise that some of the newspapers represented here today would have.